All right, so this is going to be Kamala Harris. She is coming out to introduce her VP pick, Tim Walz. As I said in my last video, I'm going to be open and fair to them, open-minded. I'm not going to try and criticize too much, just going to take it in what they're saying and, again, be open-minded. So let's go ahead and start and see what they have to say. So they just walked out. You can see they do have a pretty sizable crowd. Gotta give them that. Pretty good sized crowd. Yeah, look, they're packing the house in there. Interested to see what Tim Walz has to say. I've never heard of this guy before. Some people are saying he's very hard left. I just want to hear what he has to say, see what their policies are. Again, be open-minded. So Kamala's probably going to introduce him, let him talk for a little bit. We'll see how that goes. Normally, Kamala does not talk for very long. She's about a 20 to 30-minute speech kind of person, especially compared to Trump, who goes on for hours. Yeah, there he is, Tim Walz. Here at Philadelphia.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Okay, go ahead and start.
Good evening. Oh, it is good to be back in Pennsylvania. So let me say, on behalf of myself and the second gentleman of the United States, my husband, Doug Emhoff.
She's very quiet. She needs to get up on the microphone.
For the warm welcome. And let me just say, it's good to be here with all of the friends, all of the leaders who are here. I want to thank former Governor Ed Rendell, Senator Bob Casey, who we will re-elect this November, Senator John Fetterman, Mayor Sherelle Parker, and Chairman Jamie Harrison. And it is so good to be here with your incredible Governor, Josh Shapiro.
Who is not the VP pick.
And I will say, Josh is a dear, dear friend and an extraordinary leader. He and I have been spending a lot of time together over the years. And I told Josh, look, I am so invested in our friendship in doing this together, because together with Josh Shapiro, we will win Pennsylvania. We will win Pennsylvania. And I thank you, Josh. I thank you. So Philadelphia, I launched my campaign for the President of the United States a mere 2 weeks ago. And it's been a bit of a whirlwind. And just last night, the delegates to the Democratic National Convention finished voting. And so I stand before
So much better
you
sound here.
to proudly announce I am now officially the Democratic nominee.
So the volume's good.
Of the United States. so now we got some work to do. We need to move to the general election and win that. And to all the friends, listen, we also need to level set. We are the underdogs in this race. But we have the momentum, and I know exactly what we are up against.
Chad says, guarantee she's going to go her prosecutor versus felon spiel again. Yeah, I definitely see that coming up very shortly. She's going to throw out a bunch of Trump hate. It's just kind of expected. Trump would do the same thing, so I don't mind it as much. But I do want to hear some of her policies. And the volume's good? Good. Let's keep it moving. I want to hear some policies. Open-minded.
Now, many of you know, before I was elected vice president or elected a United States senator, I was an elected attorney general, and before that, elected district attorney.
Yep. You're right, man. She's about to get into it here.
And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. So in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
Here we go.
Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who scammed consumers.
Boo, fraudsters.
Cheaters
Boo.
who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. So, let me say.
What are they saying? Kamala?
Hold on. This campaign, our campaign, is not just a fight against Donald Trump. Our campaign, this campaign, is a fight for the future. It's a fight for the future. In Pennsylvania, we fight for a future with affordable housing, affordable health care, affordable child care, paid leave. We fight for a future where we build a broad-based economy, where every American has the opportunity to own a home, to start a business, and to build wealth. We fight for a future where we bring down prices that are still too high and lower the cost of living for America's families.
That would be nice.
So that they have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead. We fight for a future where we defend our most fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride.
Sure.
And the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body, not having her government.
You said freedom of speech is not their thing. Not normally, no. See, and she just said the freedom of choice for a woman to do what she wants with her body. That's what she should be running with. This should be the thing she's selling. This is where she's going to win over Donald Trump. The economy has not been her winning point. Let's just put it that way.
So here's the my candidacy, I set out to find a partner who can help build this brighter future. A leader who will help unite our nation and move us forward. A fighter for the middle class. A patriot who believes, as I do, in the extraordinary promise of America.
Bud says, but I still hope she wins because Trump is an idiot because he wants to destroy NATO and he's not going to help Ukraine against the Russian tyranny. You're probably right on that one. He's not going to support giving more money to Ukraine.
A promise of freedom, opportunity, and justice, not just for some, but for all.
Trump seems to think that he can win that war with a phone call before he's even elected.
So, Pennsylvania, I'm here today because I found such a leader.
There he is.
Governor Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota.
Yep. Tim Walz.
So, to those who know him best, Tim is more than a governor. To his wife, Gwen, he is a husband. To his kids, Hope and Gus, he is a dad. To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walz.
At least he's a veteran. I'll give him that. Well, technically he's not a veteran. He's active, or not active duty, but he's in the reserves, I think.
To the people of southern Minnesota, for 12 years, he was congressman. To his former high school students, he was Mr. Walz.
So this is Tim Walz. This is who she's introducing. This is her running mate that she's chosen today.
And to his former high school football players, he was coach. Coach. And in 91 days, the nation will know Coach Walz by another name, Vice President of the United States.
She's pretty cocky there.
So America, for some folks, they're just getting to know Coach Walz's story. And I'll tell you, he is the proud product of a middle-class family in rural Nebraska. He is a veteran who served our nation in uniform for more than 2 decades.
I thought he was still serving.
As a member of the Army National Guard, and he went to college on the GI Bill.
Okay. Oof. Not a big deal.
He is someone who, long before he entered politics, worked as a teacher.
That's good. Give him that.
When Coach Walz and his wife Gwen moved from his native Nebraska to Minnesota nearly 30 years ago, they both took jobs at the local high school. Coach Walz taught social studies, Gwen taught English.
That's cute.
After school, Tim was the linebackers coach for the football team. Where I've heard the stories about he had a knack for using the game of football to teach life lessons. He saw the potential in kids who sometimes didn't even see it in themselves. Under those
guarantee there will be no policy speak, just more fear mongering. Yeah, I would almost guarantee it that that's coming. It says, stay strong, American people, whoever wins. I wish you bright future and safe and good country to live in. Appreciate it. We'll see what happens.
Friday Night Lights, Coach Walz motivated his players to believe they could achieve anything. And together,
like a movie,
they defied the odds, hear this out, going from a winless record to the school's first ever state championship.
No way. Say it ain't so. Nothing says vice president like high school athletics.
Coach!
You're not seeing his comment because it's on Twitch, but if you look at the screen, it'll show it on there. But his comments aren't going to be on YouTube because he's on Twitch.
And I'll say and I'll add, Tim wasn't only a role model on the football field. Around that same time, Coach Walz was approached by a student in his social studies class. The young man was one of the first openly gay students at the school and was hoping to start a gay-straight alliance. At a time when acceptance was difficult to find for LGBTQ students, Tim knew the signal that it would send to have a football coach get involved.
Yeah, I'm streaming on both, that's why.
So he signed up to be the group's faculty advisor. And as students have said, he made this school a safe place for everybody. In the high school yearbook, the students voted Coach Walz the, quote, most inspiring faculty member.
Her speech so far has been entirely emotional driven. Definitely no policies or things that she's actually going to do in place whatsoever. But we feel good, so right on.
And as I think everyone here can see, Tim Walz was the kind of teacher and mentor that every child in America dreams of having, and that every kid deserves. The kind of coach, because he's the kind of person who makes people feel like they belong and then inspires them to dream big. And that's the kind of vice president he will be. And that's the kind of vice president America deserves.
Yeah. That right there. So they've been calling her the wine mom, and that was literally like the drunken wine mom right there. That's what America deserves. She got like wine on her breath coming out.
So it was Coach Walz's students who actually helped him decide to run for office. And he served 12 years in Congress, representing a purple district as he reached across the aisle to get things done. He was the highest ranking enlisted man to ever serve in the United States Congress.
Okay. At Sergeant Major. All right.
And and the top Democrat on the Veterans Committee. And he was known as one of Capitol Hill's best marksmen.
Okay.
Winning a bipartisan sharpshooting contest year after year. In Washington, Tim worked to raise the minimum wage, to protect the freedom of workers to join a union, and he cast one of...
Chadwin says, I just looked up his high school career, only 1,200 students in 4 grades.
the critical votes to pass the Affordable Care Act. Which...
To be fair, let's just be fair to hear him out. He does have an impressive resume. He's been a high school teacher, which is good. Obviously, you want somebody that understands kids and things that they're going to need. He was in the military, which is, I'm a vet. So definitely for that, he has experience. I think she said 12 years in Congress. So that is good. And potentially our next VP. So at least he does have experience. I don't know if any of that of his career was actually good experience, if he was great at anything that he did, if anything he passed in Congress was worth anything. I don't know anything about this guy yet.
Of course, gave health insurance to tens of millions of Americans. I'm going to tell you, when we win, Tim and I will continue to make the Affordable Care Act even stronger. We will win.
Oh, they're saying we will win, not Kamala. Now you can't hear anything. It just sounds like blah.
Let's talk about what we're dealing with on the other side.
Here you go. Just what you wanted,
So
Chad.
on that last topic, if Donald Trump gets
talk about
a
Trump.
chance, he will end the Affordable Care Act. And take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was like?
This dude in the back said no. Did you see that? Hold up. Go back a little bit.
It's back to a time when insurance
Look at the dude
companies
on
had
her
the power
right.
to deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was like?
Do you remember? No.
Children with asthma, breast cancer survivors, grandparents
Idiot.
with diabetes. Well, Governor Walz and I will not let that happen. Because we believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege for those who can afford it.
All right. Get some health care.
As governor, Tim has continued to fight for working families. He
Didn't Trump get
secured
rid of
paid
pre-existing
leave for
conditions?
workers in
I
Minnesota.
don't know. I'd have to look it up.
And he refused as governor to allow any student in their public schools to go hungry.
Yeah, I saw that. That's actually good.
So he made school breakfast and lunch free for every child.
Yeah. Let's give him that.
And Tim Walz and I, we agree about many things, including when our middle class is strong, America is strong.
Doing good. 1, 2, 3, booba.
And strengthening the middle class will be my defining goal as I am President of the United States.
How you doing?
So Pennsylvania, ours is a fight for...
We should do that nationwide. Yeah, I'd be all for that. As long as we can find a way to fund it and it works out, that is something we should definitely be working on. So good for him on that one. We'll give him a point.
the future of the middle class, and it is a fight for freedom. In this moment, we are witnessing a full-on attack against hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. Take reproductive freedom.
Yeah, lead with that.
This. Donald Trump said he wants to punish women. And as a result of his actions, today in America, 1 out of 3 women live in a state with a Trump abortion ban. 1 out of 3.
Well, I don't know if he said that he wanted to punish women. That's a little bit, seems like a lie.
Some of these bans go back to the 1800s. Even before women had a right to vote. Think about that.
Well, see, she's starting to like this issue. Like she could win this issue, but then she has to throw in these little like lies. Like if she would have just been like, under Trump, you guys lost these rights. I am totally for women's reproductive health and letting a woman choose, all this stuff. That would win, but she has to like throw in a lie around it. And it's not helping. It just makes her seem dishonest and that you don't want to listen to her anymore.
Well, Tim and I have a message for Trump and others who want to turn back the clock on our fundamental freedoms.
Yeah.
We're not.
You like Harris or Trump more? I think they're both kind of turd sandwiches.
Not going back.
So far, I'm probably leaning Trump more.
And so let me say about Tim Walz, he has shown up to stand against these attacks long before he stood on the stage with me. After Roe was overturned, he was the first governor in the country to sign a new law that enshrined reproductive freedom as a fundamental right.
So you just keep doing that. Lead with your record.
With Tim Walz by my side when I am President of the United States and we win majorities in the United States Congress, we will pass a bill to restore reproductive freedom, and I will proudly sign it into law.
There you go. Lead with that.
Tim Walz has also defended the sacred freedom to vote. As governor, he signed the most significant expansion of voting rights in Minnesota in over 50 years.
Well, what does that even mean?
And with...
So he used his state rights to enact abortion. That's where Trump sent it to the states' rights. Yeah, that's pretty much where he reversed Roe versus Wade. And he left it up to each individual state to decide if they were going to allow abortion or not.
Governor Walz's help, when I am president, we are going to finally pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Yeah,
so even for her there to say it was a Trump abortion ban, that's questionable. You can tell that she's kind of doing the political thing. Doesn't bother me as much because technically she is right. There is some bans on abortion because of it, but I think she would win more if she was just straight up honest about it.
And the Freedom to Vote Act. We're gonna get it done.
Yeah, me too, Chad. We're being critical and we're being fair. But I'm open to what they have to say. Just don't sprinkle in a bunch of white lies around it because that just makes me not like you. And Trump does the same thing. Especially things that are so easy to identify.
Tim is a hunter and a gun owner.
Like if she comes out and she says, "Oh, Trump's Project 2025," again, you're bullshitting. Trump, that has nothing to do with Trump.
Who believes believes, as the majority of gun owners do, that we need reasonable gun safety laws in America. So as governor, he expanded background checks and increased penalties for illegal firearm sales.
Yeah, 123 Booba, this is where she loses a lot of people, because now she's going to say that she wants to ban ARs, and a lot of people, especially a lot of Americans, like, we're not going to go for that because guns are so ingrained in this country. It's almost like a religion.
And together, when we win in November, we are finally going to pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban.
See, she lost me. Assault weapon ban. No, you're not taking my guns.
Through his work, Tim, the way I think about it, he really does shine a light on a brighter future that we can build together. In his state, he has been a model chief executive, and with his experience, I'm telling you, Tim Walz will be ready on day one. In fact, when you compare his resume shall we, to Trump's running mate.
How so?
Well, some might say it's like a matchup between the varsity team and the JV squad.
More high school references. Yay.
So, Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
ultimately in this
some
election,
cringe.
we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law, or a country of chaos, fear, and hate?
Well,
and here's the beauty of our democracy. We each have the power to answer that question. We each have the power to answer that question. The power is with the people.
I think she's kind of wrapping up here, but for me, women's rights, cool, dig it. Abortion, do whatever you want with your body. But then she came out and she said, ban guns. So now we're back at a zero.
We love our country. And I believe it is the highest form of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country. That is how we preserve the promise of America. And after all, the promise of America is what makes it possible.
They're pretty bad.
For two middle-class kids, one a daughter of Oakland, California, who was raised by a working mother, the other a son of the Nebraska plains who grew up working on a farm. It's the promise of America, because only in America is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House.
Kamala never references her dad. Was he absent? I don't know. I think they were still married. There's pictures of them. Couldn't tell you.
Only in America. Right. That's right. And so Coach Walz and I may hail from different corners of our great country, but our values are the same. And we both believe in lifting people up, not knocking them down. He and I, we both know the vast majority of people in our country have so much more in common than what separates them.
Is she going to let him speak?
When we look at folks, we see in our fellow Americans neighbors, not enemies. Not enemies. And so my promise to you is this. Our campaign will reach out to everyone, from red states to blue states, from the heartland to the coast, in rural, urban, suburban, and tribal communities. We are running a campaign on behalf of all Americans. And when elected, we will govern on behalf of all Americans. And so, with Tim Walz by my side, and with all of you at our side, let us fight for the promise of our future. And with that, I ask Pennsylvania, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in
Cringe.
opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it?
Harris is
When we fight,
probably going to be more pro-Israel.
we win! And now, welcome the next Vice President
Finally.
of the United States, Tim Walz.
All right, so I haven't heard this dude talk at all yet. We're going to be open-minded. We're going to get our opinion from this first-time speech that he's going to give. Just looked up dad. He wrote and published Capital Accumulation and Income Distribution, so they fit in really well together. Lefts will not like this, probably. Him coming out to speak? Anyway, let's bring him out. Open-minded. Give him a chance. He's a veteran. All right. Let's see how long he talks. Maybe he'll talk about some policy, not emotion.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Philadelphia.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so,
He's a sergeant major. They always look upset.
thank you for bringing back the joy. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And Pennsylvania, I know you know this, but my God, what a treasure you have in Josh Shapiro.
He seems a little bit nervous. A lot of people.
Holy hell, can this guy bring the fire? He can bring the fire. This is a visionary leader. Also, I have to tell you, everybody in America knows when you need a bridge fixed, call that guy. And I think sometimes we forget, and you see people a little one-dimensional, but seeing a guy who cares so deeply about his family, a man with compassion, vision, and I'll have to tell you this, I know this from experience, there is no one you would rather go to a Springsteen concert in Jersey with than him, than that guy.
Okay.
Bruce! And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator. Don't ever underestimate teachers. And our two beautiful kids, Hope.
And he lost the kids with the Springsteen reference. Yeah, I think he lost me with that reference.
And Goss. I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about. Next President of the United States of America. From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, Attorney General of the great state of California, a United States Senator, and Vice President of the United States, Vice President Harris has fought on the side of the American people. She took on the predators, she took on the fraudsters, she took down the transnational gangs, she stood up against powerful corporate interests, and she never hesitated to reach across the aisle if it meant improving people's lives.
And she locked up the people smoking weed and then laughed about it.
And I want all of you to hold this and don't ever underestimate the power of this. She does it all with a sense of joy. I know a little something about that commitment to people. I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived in Butte, a small town of 400, where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards...
I have to admit, he is well-spoken, unlike the two running for president. Yeah, I'll give him that. He is well-spoken.
...your neighbors and work for a common good.
That's not saying much, though.
My dad served in the Army during the Korean War. With his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard. For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation.
Okay, now we're talking.
The National Guard gave me purpose. It gave me the strength of a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education.
Right on. Dig that.
My dad was a teacher. My brothers and sisters and I followed in their footsteps. 3 out of 4 of us married teachers. What we do. For nearly 20 years, I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies and coaching football. Including winning that state championship. So thank you. Don't ever close the yearbook. Don't ever. But it was my students. They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them, a commitment of common good, a belief that one person can make a difference. So in 2006, I took a leap and I ran for Congress.
Well, I like it more than Kamala so far.
And because high school teachers are super optimistic, I was running in a district that had one Democrat since 1892.
He doesn't cackle.
Well, my neighbors graced me with an opportunity to represent them in the United States House of Representatives. I'm proud of the work we did there together. I worked across the aisle on veterans issues, on agriculture, and on ways to grow rural economies. I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values. And now, as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I bring those experiences to bear in tackling the challenges that are facing our great state. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, and now Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House.
And those values are, specifically?
Now, Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
Okay, but what are you going to do for me? I get it, you hate Trump.
You know, some of us are... Some of us in here are old enough to remember.
They were.
I see you down there. I see those old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
There you go. There you go. Now you're talking.
These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF, and this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach.
Kamala is looking like, by God, he's going to win this for me. That's the look on our face for sure.
The phone rang, and
he's not bad.
We heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when
Good
we
speaker.
welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope. When Vice President and I talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make your own healthcare decisions. And for our children to be free to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classrooms. By the way, as you heard, I was one of the best shots in Congress, but in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws.
What does that mean? Take my AR? They're losing me again.
Vice President Harris' idea of freedom is a ticket for education to be that ticket to the middle class, not crippling debt. Air that's clean, water that's pure, communities that are safe. A place where we settle our political differences not through violence, but with our votes. And that's what this election's about. What direction will this country go in? He's not going back. Well, Donald Trump.
No, but there are a lot of women who vote who didn't know a damn thing about Walz, and we weren't waiting around for him. Your commentary sucks big time. Well, then leave. If you don't like my commentary, go away. No one's forcing you to be here.
Trump would damn sure take us backwards. Let's be clear about that. And don't believe him when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedoms.
See, there you go. Project 2025. That's where they start lying again.
To rig the economy to help the super rich. If Trump gets a chance to return, he's going to pick up exactly where he left off 4 years ago. Only this time, it will be much, much worse. Raising costs on middle-class family. He will repeal the Affordable Care Act, no doubt about it. He'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And when somebody tells you are, they believe him. He said he'd ban abortion across this country, and he'll do it, whether or not Congress is there or not. Donald Trump's not fighting for you or your family. He never sat at that kitchen table like the one I grew up at, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. He sat at his country club up in Mar-a-Lago, wondering how he can cut taxes for his rich friends.
Booba says, in Russia, we have strict gun laws about guns, but we still have school shootings. That's terrible.
And I got to tell you, his running mate shares his dangerous and backward agenda for this country. J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on. That's not what middle America is. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy.
I mean, those laws aren't working. Criminals always could buy guns. Yeah, and it's not going to do anything, even if they take away ARs. And it wouldn't even work anyway. What are they going to do? Come to your house and try to round up your AR? Yeah, not going to happen. Not in America.
That is if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there? Look. I got to tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see. So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back. We are not going back. So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead. Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day. And we'll have yours. You know how this works. We can't do it alone. We need you, each and every one of you.
He's talking like a preacher now.
Go over to KamalaHarris.com, get on board, because we need you. Freedom to make our own choices. This leader, this compassionate, careful, joyous leader believes in each and every one of you.
That seemed like I heard him to say.
My God, you came here tonight to sit at the very top because you love this country and you're not going back.
Suddenly asking of money like a preacher too. Yeah, I was thinking that exact same thing. Come on over to our website. Maybe make a donation.
She believes in the opportunity for every single person to join the middle class. She believes in the promise of America. We just got to fight. We just got to fight. Because as soon-to-be President Harris says, when we fight, we win. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Vice President. God bless.
But if citizens will not be able to protect themselves with guns, the criminals will be even more successful. It just wouldn't work in America, Boba. Americans are not going to give up their guns. I don't even know what they think they're going to do. Join the middle class. It's easier to oppress you that way.
America.
I don't know if Kamala's going to speak again. Oh, not music. They're trying to get me demonetized. That might be it. That was weird. So I don't hate this guy. I'm just not for the take away your guns kind of thing. I really don't like it when they try to sell it as protecting kids when really they're saying take away your guns. I would have been all for it if we was talking about like different ways to protect kids in school. Like, yeah, sure, let's do that. But you're not really saying that. Really what you're saying is you're going to ban ARs. I don't think they're going to speak again. So once again, no policies. Yeah, this was a straight up appeal to your emotions kind of fest, which is pretty typical of the Democratic Party anyway. I was kind of hoping we would hear more things that they actually want to do. I don't know. This stuff just doesn't work for me. They come out there and they try to get to your emotions. I'm like, well, tell me exactly what you're going to do. That whole slick politician thing, it's not working. She's coming back to the stage. I don't know, she's going past the podium. So yeah, they're done. I don't know. What do y'all think of the VP pick? I thought he was a good speaker. Definitely has a good record. And also state will not be Well, no, be afraid of rebellion or something, easier to make dictatorships. Like one of the first things that communists did in Russia, they took away the guns from people. Yeah, it's just not going to work in America, man. Like that's they can come out there and talk about taking guns away all they want, but it's just not going to happen. I mean, it's just it. Guns are a part of our culture. That's why it's so difficult to navigate these issues like school shootings. If you start sending police around to round up guns door to door, those police are going to get shot in the face. Americans will not mess around, man. I hated that it would come to that, but it's reality. It is too dangerous. Policemen are not going to do that because they know how dangerous that situation is. I watched an FDR documentary about his presidency. He also said we need to vote for democracy. Yeah. So yeah, I like that they're running with the abortion angle. I think that's what they should be going for. That's definitely going to help them win. It's not going to win over any of the religious types, but I think there's a lot of women that are going to be on board for that. Yeah, that wasn't very long. It was about an hour. That's what I was saying. Kamala's speeches don't usually last too long. And no special entertainers this time. It's all right. There you have it. I'm going to jump off here and upload this video. So thank y'all for hanging out with me.